the virtual background that I
Oh,
always
of
use.
course.
And
Yes.
I instead turned myself off. There we go. Now
Never
I'm fixed.
mind. Well, we're here and we're
Oh,
welcoming all of our audience, wherever you may be. We hope that you're having a fun day and that it's been rolling nicely for you without any bumps along the way. Well, Janet, we're talking about the solar eclipse that I believe is coming up. Is that right?
right. There's a set of eclipses. The eclipses always happen in twos, right? Or sometimes threes, but this one is twos. Um,
Right.
it is a solar eclipse, and it's paired with a lunar eclipse. Sometimes the lunar eclipse comes first and then the solar, but this time we're hitting the solar eclipse first, and that will be on April 20th. And it is interesting because a solar eclipse can only happen at a new moon. So it's the
Right.
second, yeah, it's the second new moon of Aries. The first one was on the first day of spring, your first day of fall, and that would have been right around March 20th, 21st, depending on your time zone. And
Mhm.
that new moon was at 0 degrees of Aries, and this new moon solar eclipse will be at 29 degrees Aries. So both of these are notable because those 2 degrees in astrology are considered karmic or impactful degrees, right? They tend to really bring things to the surface. So even if you don't think you're impacted by, eclipses or Aries isn't a big deal in your life, chances are stuff has been happening during this particular lunation period.
Aha. Now, just before you go, I want to welcome Debbie Tibbetts
Tumiel, Debbie
Toomey.
Tibbetts Tumiel,
Mm.
Debbie TT. Hello, Debbie.
That's a good idea. I was reflecting today. A girlfriend has a son who her husband's family wanted him to be called Paul John, and she thought there's no way known that she could go along with that. But what she did very cleverly, yes, he is christened Paul John, but he's called PJ.
Good one.
And I
Good one.
think, oh, how
Yeah.
clever. How
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of when people have hyphenated last names or, longer last names, I just like to shorten them if I can.
well, we Aussies are very good at shortening anything. So,
It's a thing for you guys, huh?
yes.
So, yeah,
So now getting back to this particular
yeah,
month, because you are making quite a statement about the eclipses, are you not? They're very
yeah.
profound.
Well, eclipses, we generally think of them astrologically as sort of jacking up the energy of whichever moon, either the new or the full, because
Hmm.
they add sort of a power or a punch to it. And then it doesn't just end with the new moon or with the full moon. It carries on an energetic signature until the next set of moons of eclipses. So
Right.
the things that are happening with this eclipse on April 20th are going to be impacting us all the way until the middle of October, and maybe even longer than that, depending on the mechanics of the eclipse itself. So it's it's impactful, yes, as it happens, but we get echoes of it going on down the line for months to come, where a new moon by itself or a full moon by itself really only has about a 30-day window, right? From new moon to new moon, full moon to full moon. But the
Right.
eclipses hang on. And that means that, something that occurs with, let's say, a new moon. A new moon is a time of seed planting, right?
Hmm.
We are often setting intentions for a new beginning, or we're opening the doorway to something new. And those new things that happen with the solar eclipse can have that 6 to 8 month period of time where it's being revealed piece by piece. It may not all come at once, right? It might be
Hmm.
something super exciting, and yet it may take some time for it to come to pass. Does that make sense? Like it's drawn out more. Now,
Right.
on the other hand, it could be something, kind of uh, extraordinary, an opportunity, and it starts out really big with a big bang, right? Or something big happens. And then as time goes on, it morphs and changes with the subsequent months that are going by. So
Mhm.
it's never going to be so easy to just say, hey, this is what's going to happen. But we can say generally, whatever area of the chart you have Aries in is where there's a new beginning, likely that started back on March 20th or 21st with the 0 degrees Aries new moon, has been building to this point. And with the solar eclipse at 29 degrees Aries, another karmic degree, you're either going to see the results of the seeds that you planted and they may be going nowhere and you're forced to rethink the whole thing, or the seeds begin to sprout, they come up above the surface, and your next steps begin to be revealed. So it's definitely an
Okay.
interesting time.
Yes. Yeah. And you've taught me something because I thought, oh, yes, well, an eclipse, it happens. And so we go on. But no, I like that laugh. Now, Tom has joined us. And
Hey,
thank you,
Tom,
Tom. He's going, how's it? It's
how's it?
good.
It's good. Yeah. Yeah, so eclipses they definitely take on a larger than life type of thing, and every time I will pull a chart after that, I'm going to see where that lunar eclipse or where that solar eclipse occurred in a chart because it's going to tell me, right? This is where that lunar eclipse was. Even on the chart I pulled for the solar eclipse, it's telling me that the solar eclipse is happening at 14 degrees, which this was the one for Taurus. So this will be the lunar eclipse that I'll talk about next. But it told me that the lunar eclipse was happening at 14 degrees, 52 minutes of Scorpio, but the full moon itself was happening at 14 degrees, 55 minutes of Scorpio. So we're already getting this impact of the eclipse and it's going to keep showing up there. So as planets pass over the degree that the eclipse was, we get the next bump or the next opening for the things that we've begun anew, if it's a solar eclipse, and the things that we're clearing out, if it's a lunar eclipse.
Hmm.
Does that make
Now,
sense?
it does. I'm so if something good is happening, it can be even better. Does that mean that if something challenging is happening, it can be even more challenging?
Possibly, yeah. It
Mm,
depends. It really depends on you as a person and how um, stuck you are, or how much in a comfort zone you're in and not wanting to change, how
right.
fearful you are of changing. Um, if you're not fearful and you're open-minded and open-hearted and just going, yep, let's just go forward, then it's probably not going to be something that you find challenging at all. But if you're
Hmm.
someone who likes to stay stuck, and here's where the universe really comes to your aid, if you will, is that it acts to unstick you.
Right.
Right? It'll
Mhm.
throw in a curveball and say, okay, well, let's do this now. Right? Now you have to do something. Now you have to change. Now you have to
Mm.
grow and expand or move boldly forward. So it's an interesting, this whole lunar or solar eclipse time is interesting just because it's the second new moon of Aries, right? We typically have one new moon and one full moon in each sign. But
Right.
this time, because of the 0 degree new moon back on March 21st and the 29 degree new moon, we have the entire spectrum of Aries energies that we've been learning about for a while. Now, here's the other thing. That eclipse is one and done. We think of it as done, right? As of the next
Mm.
morning or after a few hours. And it's really not, because following behind the in Aries is Jupiter and Chiron. Now, Chiron isn't going to hit that degree anytime soon, but Jupiter will. And it's going to be fun to see what happens then, because Jupiter brings growth and evolution. So So the eclipse is going to happen on April 20th, and about, I think it's May 18th or 19th, when Jupiter changes signs, it will go over that 29th degree and bring more possibly good stuff to the experience that you had with the eclipse. And that doesn't always happen, right? It happens that other planets are driving across them, but not necessarily Jupiter of all planets, right? That one is the one that we determine, that is our evolution in our consciousness, or the evolution in our life that takes us into new territory, expands us, and we're growing from those experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think Chiron will hit that one before the next one, so we don't have to worry about Chiron, thankfully. But definitely Jupiter will be crossing over that spot, and in the very near future. And of course, then there may be more expressions of it, because every month the moon is going to pass
Mm-hmm.
by that degree. So at least one physical planet or body is going to be triggering that eclipse point every month.
Every month.
Every month. Between now and
Mm-hmm.
October, the moon is going to go past that same spot. And as it does, you might see the next step revealed to you. Or you might see the next level of something that happens, or the next crash and burn if you didn't pay attention the first time. It'll be the second opportunity to change your ways, kind of thing. But that's how eclipses work, right? That's exactly what they do. And they force us, if we won't change on our own, they make it so darn uncomfortable to stay in the same spot or same position, that you'll change, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll move forward. Now, when we're talking about the 0 degrees and the 29 degrees, they're karmic in nature. So the way I would look at this one is that the eclipse is at 29 degrees of Aries. So it's the compilation of all the Aries lessons that we've been learning over time. That might be about how to be bold, how to be authentic, how to step forward in life, even if you don't know for certain what the next step is, right? Being willing and open and able to take that next step, finding your identity. Who am I? What is my role here? What is my life purpose? Who am I
Mm.
here to be? Who do I want to be? What's my identity, in other words? And as well, Aries energy is kind of innocent. It innocent in that, because it's the first sign of the zodiac, there's not a lot of experience. Aries comes in very open, right? Open-minded, and just says, oh, hey, let's go do this. And then we might face the ramifications of the things that we've done, but we boldly go. So the 29th degree might be showing us all of the things that we've maybe attempted, all of the opportunities for new growth that are all coming together at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody's going to have this happening in a house in their chart. So if you're not familiar with the houses, they are just the representation of an area of your life, right? So wherever Aries is in your chart is the area of life that will be impacted by that eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, Aries energy is on my 10th house. It's the career and profession house. It's how I present myself as an authority in the world. I cannot remember what your rising sign is, Annette. I know you're a Scorpio.
Yes.
Do you know what your rising is?
No. No, I'd be
Okay.
guessing.
Well, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to pull. You can cheat. I'm going to pull your chart up and
Okay.
see what it is. And anybody else out there who's listening who wants me to cheat and find out what theirs is, I am happy to do that, because the house is going to really be the more important thing, right? The eclipse is global, like everybody's going to experience the eclipse,
Right.
but it's going to be different for each person. McCoy, right? MCC. Oh,
Oh, right.
wow, I
Which
have a lot of M's.
while you're checking that, I'm going to remind people that you do free charts, and if people are coming in for the first time, you might like to have a look at Janet's website. Now it's up on the screen, www.
living-astrology.com or living
That's
hyphen.
yes.
Yeah.
Astrology.com. So please, especially if you're joining us for the first time, welcome, and do yourself a favor. Check out Janet's website and take advantage of having a chart created for you, read for you. It's a whole new world. I found notes the other day, actually, that of a reading that you'd done for me, and the fact that I'm a projector.
Oh, that's in your human design. Awesome.
Mm.
Yes, a projector. So, Annette, where are you going to be on April 20th? Are you home
I'm
or have you?
Melbourne, yeah, in Melbourne.
Okay, so you're home because your chart then shows that your eclipse is happening in the fifth house, which is the house of love and romance and joy,
Whoa.
fun, vacation, playtime, and it's at the 29th degree. So it happens to sit on top of your natal Selena or Selene, which is called the white moon. The white moon shows us what we are particularly good at, like what could we share with the world? And what you
Mm-hmm.
can particularly share with the world is how to have fun, how to bring joy, how to be creative. So an eclipse sitting on top of that might mean new opportunities for that to come into um, reality in your life over these next 6 months periods of time.
Right.
More and more creativity, more and more joy, maybe love, maybe romance. I don't know.
Whoa, that sounds very promising, doesn't it? Lots of fun.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that. Now, Tom
you're welcome.
has said around eclipses and other large astro events are not a good time to fly in aeroplanes because of all the extra radiation. Oh, well, but thank you, Tom. However, I am taking off on the 30th.
Tom, right? Don't get into all the conspiracy stuff.
No.
Yes, there's radiation. It's so small, though, the amount that we get when we're in an airplane. It's not going to be any more lethal than flying
Yes.
in general would be.
Well, I must admit, I do enjoy flying. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have.
Yeah, but
So,
that's going to be a long flight for you, isn't it?
oh, yes,
Very
we're
long.
used to. For us to get anywhere is a long time. A short flight for us is a long flight for people in Europe.
Oh, wow.
So, never mind.
Yikes.
I figure I get on the plane, I have 14 hours or 15 hours to do anything I would like to do.
Yeah, and you're gaining hours, aren't you? No, are you losing hours or gaining hours as you
No, I'm
go?
gaining hours. I actually
Yeah.
leave on Sunday. Oh, I get to London in 24 hours, basically. So
Long day,
lose.
long day of travel.
That's
So
right.
worth it. So worth it. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yep.
From
Now,
yes.
there are other ways that I like to look at these eclipses or for any astrology kind of event that's happening. And that's through something called the Sabian symbols, right? The Sabian symbols are based on the work, well, partly based on the work Dane Rudhyar did. Oh, I forgot. There we go. Dane Rudhyar in an astrological mandala, where every degree of the zodiac is assigned a symbol, right? Or a phrase or a sentence that is kind of a picture of a
Mhm.
word picture of what the energy is all about. And this particular new moon solar eclipse is called a duck pond and its brood. So a duck pond and all the ducks on the pond. Now, if you just think about that, what does that evoke for you?
Oh, gorgeous
Right?
family.
Family or peacefulness or
Mm.
getting along, right? You don't really see ducks duking it out on the pond, right? They're usually pretty, unless it's mating season, they're pretty docile. And yet a pond has an edge to it, right? So it kind of indicates the limits that we have, that every activity, every experience has its limits, right? Everything comes to an end, or everything has its ending spot. And that allows us then to focus our energy on what it is that we want to create. In your case, because the eclipse is occurring in the fifth house, it's you wanting to create more fun, more joy, more play, more vacation, more time, to do those things, those fun things in life. For someone else, it might be, creating more work. Maybe, they want more work to do, or they're working hard to build something or to do something. So the focus of this eclipse is really about taking those next steps to actually build upon the new idea or the new beginning, right? To, make sure that you've got some boundaries around it, because otherwise it's runaway growth. And runaway growth is kind of what a tumor does, right? So we don't
Uh-huh.
want runaway growth. We want to be able to have the limits and peacefully, but gently keep moving forward. That's what
Mm-hmm.
this one is all about. Now, the sun and moon are going to be in human design. If you're interested in that, the human design eclipse is at gate 3. Now, gate 3 is a gate that sits on the sacral center. So the second one up from the bottom. That's the center for action, right? It's sexuality, it's doing energy. So it's really about taking action. And it is a motor energy. It's always on. It's always ready. It's always ready to play. It's always ready to do. And the gate 3 on that sacral center is about innovation and invention, doing something new, stretching, changing, transforming. So it really holds an energy of our movement forward, and stops us from holding on or backsliding into the past. So it's interesting that way, because you'll hear a lot of different, things about, the good old days, or going
Yeah.
back, or in our country, it's been make America great again, and all these kinds of things are holding us back. And not, I mean, it may not sound like that would hold you back, but it does, because it holds you to a past.
Right.
And we're really being asked to step forward. So it's interesting to find the gate 3 in this mix, because it's so innovative. It's so new and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
In the I Ching, because everything in human design and the gene keys, their underlying energy is from the I Ching. This is all about having difficulty in the beginning. So, yeah, we're all perched on this edge of a new beginning. There's often difficulty in the beginning, right? In the beginning, there is sometimes you've got to stick with something, right? You got to put a little bit more oomph behind what it is that you're doing in order to keep it going, or to help it gain momentum. That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're seeing with this solar eclipse, is that we've had these opportunities possibly for something new in whatever area of life that Aries is sitting in for you. And now you've got to give it some time, let it grow some legs, let it gain some speed and momentum, rather than giving up because you say, oh, it's not working, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Innovation takes time, right? It takes time. And sometimes it's chaotic in the beginning. Like, I guess I can share this without divulging anything major. Um, I've been in the background of life reworking my website. Well, I've been trying to put courses on my website rather than using an outside party to host my courses on. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, I have had the worst, it feels like it's been the worst experiences trying to get this done. And it gets very annoying, because it's something I really want to do. I feel like I really should be able to do. And yet the technology just eludes me. And it really peeves me. I was going to say it pisses me off. It does that too. But I can't give up with that, because this is something that is a part of my new beginning, right? It's all 10th house, career, profession, worldly self. So I stick with it. And I had a breakthrough the other day sticking with it, right? I called this friend of mine, and she is so good with all of this stuff. And she just helped me work through the bugs that I couldn't get fixed. It was amazing, but I was ready to give it up, Annette. I was ready to say, too bad, so sad, not doing it, no more, not not going through this. And that's the temptation that we have right now because things seem more difficult to get up and off the ground. That
Mm-hmm.
might be a career, that might be a relationship, it might be a financial plan, it might be any number of things in your life, but it's worth it to stick through it. That's pretty much what this whole energetic solar eclipse will be about, right? Now, Earth is a
Earth.
challenge. She's the challenge piece in all of this, right? So we have in human design, the sun and the moon are in a conjunction at a solar eclipse. That means they're together in the same sign at the same degree. And they're both sitting at the gate 3. They're both sitting in the 29th degree of Aries. But the Earth will be exactly opposite of that. The Earth will be sitting in 29 degrees of Libra and will be sitting at a gate in human design that is a fear gate. And the fear, this is the interesting one, is that we're afraid of failing, right? We're
Sure.
afraid of failure or failing others, right? And one of the things, sometimes you can use fear to your advantage. And I sort of did that because I kept going because I had promised somebody that I would get these courses up, and she rearranged her life waiting for me to get these courses up. So I couldn't fail her by not doing it. So I used that to keep going in some respects. Keep it going, keep it going. So
Right.
what we're trying to do here is to transcend unhealthy fears like obligations to being a certain thing at a certain time in a certain way that feel
Right.
like obligations, right? Um, but giving the best of ourselves to the process so that we can serve our clients if it's a client thing, or ourselves if it's something that we need to learn, our romantic partners, our you name it, right? Whatever the house is that this is going on. So it's really about taking care of yourself first so that you
Mm-hmm.
have the energy to share with others. And so it's all about taking care of yourself. The earth's challenging us to take care of ourselves so that we have the energy to go out into the world with new things and to innovate, to think anew, to act differently. So, although while we're doing that, we have to be careful that we're not also trying to smother other people with our mothering instincts,
It's
right?
a
Get
fine line.
so into nurturing that we can't see how it is we're actually smothering somebody instead of really
Mhm.
nurturing. So that's just one of those things, but it's also helping us to align with our values, right? What do we value? Do we say we value? Do we walk our talk? That kind of thing. So it's for one little day that seems like it should be a one and done thing, it's really holding a lot of energy for us as we go forward in time.
Right. I'd like to say hello, a special hello to Robin Mills, who has joined us,
Hi,
and
Robin.
Robin says she loves this. So thank
Yeah.
you, Robin.
Yeah. Now, we should probably talk about the lunar eclipse because Annette and I will not be here in May for our show,
Mm,
right? She's off running and I'm off and running, so we won't be together. So we won't be here to talk about the lunar eclipse. So we're going to talk about that now too. I think that's a good thing that we can do. The lunar eclipse occurs on May 5th. We would have been on air that day, you and I. Now that I think about it, right? That would have been our day. We would have been
right.
on
Well,
during the eclipse. Oh, well, that's no big deal. Now, the lunar eclipse happens at a full moon, right? The solar eclipse can only happen at a new moon. The
right.
lunar eclipse can only happen at a full moon when the sun and moon are in opposition to one another. And this means the sun will be in Taurus at that time on May
Right.
5th. It's also Cinco de Mayo. It's also Wesak week. Interesting, timing wise, just interesting.
Right.
But the eclipse itself will be at 14 degrees of Scorpio because that's where the moon will be. The moon will be in Scorpio. And this is interesting because you are a Scorpio. So I need to check your chart again. Let me escape here for 1 minute to your chart again and see where 14 Scorpio is. 14 Scorpio is going to be just before the placement of the sun in your chart. You have the sun at 20 Scorpio.
Mhm.
So, and that's going to put it in your 12th house. So you're coming out of some kind of fear or limitation or self-sabotaging behavior. You're just gaining more and more conscious awareness. That's what that lunar eclipse will be for you. Like, what are you letting go of? Because a full moon is a time of revelation, time of completion, perhaps a time of breaking through to something. And the breakthrough in your case might be about letting go of some kind of fear you've had or some kind of limiting belief or thought process that you've been a part of and recognizing the high spirit that you are, right? The divine that you are. So it's again, it's a good news thing for you, but sometimes it first triggers the fear. The 12th house is tricky that way. It brings up the hidden things. So the light is full, right? At that time, the moon is bright. So it can
Mhm.
shine a light for you on whatever it is that's been holding you back. It might be a fear, it could be a block, it could be a limitation, it could be a past life deal, it could be many different things that might come to light for you during that eclipse. And of course, reverberating until the next eclipse, which then
Right.
won't be until the fall. Make
Mhm.
sense? Yeah. Now with this eclipse, the gate in human design for that eclipse is at gate 1, the first gate of all of the gates. It's a very yang energy, meaning pushing outward energy. In it's kind of an initiating kind of energy, the beginning of our journey through the 64 gates or the 64 gene keys or the 64 hexagrams if you're looking at it through the I Ching. And this is an energy of purpose, right? This is, we're pushing out with our purpose. And that particular eclipse, then, wherever it is in your personal chart, is where you're pushing outward, right? You're going deeper, you're you're uncovering things that have been in your way. There's maybe this revelation kind of feel, epiphany feel to that moon that is designed to help us go to find our purposes or to live out our purposes, right? We
Mhm.
don't really have to go find our purpose because living is our purpose. Whatever it is that you're doing in your life is your purpose. People always question, like, what is my purpose?
I
Well,
often think, Janet, when my life is flowing smoothly, I'm living my
uh-huh.
purpose.
Mm. I would say that even when your life is not flowing smoothly, when you're bumping into everything or having challenges, you are still living your purpose because a part of your purpose is to move through life with ease and grace,
Right. Mhm.
right? And sometimes that's going to be through the challenges that arise. So,
Sure.
but the first gate or first gene key is always going to push us to get out in the world and share of ourselves, right? It's going to push us to be um, out there and available to serve,
Mhm.
to help others, to share of our gifts and our talents. So without that anxiety of, am I living my purpose? Is this what I'm here to do? Right? Is this really me? Those
Mhm.
kinds of questions really just start to take you away from the feeling of really living your purpose. So it'll be an interesting one because the full moon often also brings us something that we have to let go of,
Right.
and the eclipse makes that more powerful. That
Mm.
we may find that we are completing with something that we didn't necessarily want to complete with. Um, we may be putting an end to, a period at the end of the sentence of some part of our life. Might be a relationship, a job, a project you've been working on. It's hard to say because it's going to be different for everybody where that is happening. Um, so, we want to be open and we want to be willing, and we have to understand that we're living our purpose when we are conscious about what we're doing, right? So
Mhm.
there's not a purpose to be a carpenter or to be a sailboat operator or to whatever, be a nurse, teacher, right? You might have inklings in your chart that show that this might be what you're good at, but your purpose isn't just that, right?
Mm.
It's deeper than that. So dig deeper for what it is that you're here to do. What is it that you're here to share? Right? For some people, I think about people like, you're retired, right? You've been retired. A couple of listeners out there are retired. And you might be thinking, well, I don't have a purpose now, right? I'm done working. Well, since when did work or your job become your purpose? It's something you did. You work, or you were this or you were that, but was that really what your purpose was? So we're digging deeper into ourselves to find out what was my purpose here. What are my what are the key things that really kept me going through my life? And often it
Mm.
comes down to my purpose was to build a family, to live with lovingness in a family. It might be to, build something that serves others in a way that I could never have dreamed about, right? It's so many different things that it could be. So finding our purpose, living our purpose, and sharing it, sharing
Mhm.
what we do best with everyone around us, with whomever
Mhm.
it is that we are here to share with. It's going to be interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. That degree, it's at 5 degrees of Taurus. Or I'm sorry, 14 degrees of Scorpio. And why did I say Taurus? Because Taurus is opposite of it. And at that time, Taurus has a lot of planets in it, right? It has Mercury in retrograde on it's because it was May 5th. May 5th at 14 degrees of Scorpio. The opposite sign of Scorpio, where the sun will be, is Taurus. And not only will the sun be there, Mercury will be there in retrograde. And Uranus still in Taurus, and we also have the North Node, but at the other end, the North Node is over. The node is the life path trajectory, right? What is our collective trajectory is also in Taurus. So there's a lot of Taurus energy, and the moon is basically holding that energy for all of us in Scorpio. So we're looking, in Taurus, we're grounding something, right? We're building something. We're taking the steps step by step to build or to create, right? It's creating energy, it's manifesting energy. And the moon in that lunar eclipse is there to hold us to that creation, to that cultivation of whatever it is that we're in the process of building.
Mhm.
So it kind of gives us the tenacity or the determination, maybe, even
Mhm.
to stay the course of whatever it is that we are putting out in play. Now, a few days after that, Jupiter is going to move into Taurus and add its energy to the building process, the cultivating process, the mastering of something. So we're we're starting something new now with that solar eclipse, and then we're going to keep it going. We're going to build on it. We're going to cultivate. We're going to grow. We're going to evolve through the lunar eclipse,
Mhm.
and that will have echoes of for the next 6 months after that, all the way till October. It'll be October
Mm.
when the next set of eclipses come.
Right.
Right. Again, those will be in Libra and Taurus.
It's interesting, Janet, because eclipses are not uniform or regular. They simply come.
They are regular though. They come every 6 months, right? They
Oh,
come at 2 times of the year. But what's happening is that eclipses are based on where the moon's nodes are.
Right.
So right now, the moon's nodes are across Taurus and Scorpio. So for the last 18 months, we've had eclipses across Taurus and Scorpio. Okay. But they're
Right.
inching ever closer because they back their way through a sign. They're inching ever closer to Aries and Libra. So we're seeing the first instances of the Aries eclipse on April 20th, and then we'll have an October lunar eclipse or solar eclipse in Libra. So we're
Right.
starting to see that shift away from Taurus Scorpio energy as the nodes are moving closer to Aries and Libra. So then
Mm-hmm.
for the next 18 months, we'll have Libra and Aries eclipses. So that axis in our chart, which we call the love and war axis, right? It's the I am versus the we are axis,
Right.
will take center stage in all of our lives. And then that too will shift as the nodes begin to move closer to, let's see, what will come next. It'll be Gemini, or I mean, it'll go the other way. So it's going to be Scorpio. No, it'll be Virgo and Pisces. So, but that's not for almost 2 years now.
Right.
Yeah. But that's how they work, right? And the eclipses happen along the axis that the north and south node is in,
Mm-hmm.
the dragon's head and the dragon's tail.
It's just, I feel as though you're speaking another language. It's all so new to me. Along the yes, oh yes, there's an eclipse, but I didn't realize that they were regular.
Yes. And dare I even bring this part up? They're also a part of a bigger cycle of eclipses. So each eclipse that happens belongs to a series of eclipses that likely have their beginnings way back in the year 1000 or 1100,
Mm-hmm.
because they're
Wow.
tracing themselves down. So they're part of a bigger cycle, one that I don't usually bring up because, well, for one thing, that whole idea of an eclipse is big enough. Hard enough for some people to get, down. What's happening? If you start to really tell people it's part of a bigger cycle. So when we're looking historically at things that have happened, and how many times have you noticed that history is repeating itself in some way? And often those big events that create history are also linked to eclipses further back in history when something happened, right? And then the next cycle comes along, and then the next cycle comes along, and so on and so forth. And that you can also trace that through your life.
Yes.
Breathe deep, Annette. Breathe deep. It's okay. And those things are called Saros cycles. Saros, as in
Right.
Sam. Saros cycles or Saros cycles. So for those of you who are, wanting to learn more, go look up, Google Saros cycles. And the last time I looked that up, you could actually link different eclipses to times gone by. So historically, you
Right.
could research, what this eclipse is related to in terms of cycles gone by or times gone by.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. The important thing for everybody to know is these are times of change. That's what eclipses do. They break up the stagnant energy. They break us out of our comfort zones in some way. They they are opportunities for us to grow and to evolve. And of course, there are other things that give us opportunities like that, but these are rhythmic and they come every 6 months, right? So they are definitely like change agents. They bring us to change.
Right.
Yeah. If not downright force us into it if we're hesitating. if we're not
Uh-huh.
doing a change.
It's as though they give us a push or a prod.
Yeah. Oh, move in that direction. Stop doing it that way. Do it this way. Yeah. So they do get kind of a bad rap because often what happens during eclipses, in the bigger social sphere are big things, right? There's often traumas and dramas related to eclipses, you know. In Mayan days, the eclipses were often signals to them that there was going to be a leadership change, that they started, looking at the kings as, mortal, and is there something that's going to change here? And wartime, right? Often eclipses presaged war. Why? Because they shift paradigm. And when we start to shift a paradigm, people kind of react to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not always in a powerfully good way, sometimes in a very powerfully not so good way. Um, but again, it's not to bring us doom and gloom, it's to help us be able to shake off the old and move more to the new.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, Bridget has joined us and she says, hi.
Hello.
Hello, Bridget. Graham McIntyre.
Looking
That's
for, does she have a
a
question, or
lady. Sorry, what was that?
does somebody have a question, or?
Well, we can open that up because we have a few minutes left. And you have rightfully said that we're not going to be here next month. So everybody, now's the time. Of course, Janet, you have your own show that you
Mhm,
present on a regular basis
mhm. Mondays
via
and Fridays, Living Astrology with Janet at 8 a.m. Pacific time, bright and early on Mondays and Fridays. And all of those sessions are just like this, right? I record them. They're on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can go to youtube.com/living astrology. That's where all my videos are. And,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go to Facebook, which would be facebook.com/living astrology. That would be my Facebook page. And that's where the broadcasts go. And again, a couple of times a month, I have guests on. And one time, the first Wednesday of the month, typically I'm on with Cam, who co-wrote the Energy Almanac. And so we talk about what's coming up for the month ahead. And then on the third Friday, I have Pia Orleans and Cullen Baird Smith, who are the writers of the Pleiadian Earth Energy Astrology and Calendar. So we always love talking to them. So you can, not just get astrology and human design, although that's mostly what we're talking about there. But at other times, right, we have different topics we bring up. Yeah.
We're very fortunate, aren't we, that we have these tools and people at our ever ready, so that if people might be watching us for the first time today and it's a whole new world, so as
Yeah.
you said, they can go to you via Facebook, they can go via YouTube and listen and watch to their heart's content. Or everybody, you can reach out to Janet via her website as
Which is
well.
right up here, living-astrology.com. Although when you go to YouTube or Facebook, you do not need to put the hyphen in. You can just put Living Astrology, one word, and find me that way. So I
Very
guess
cool.
I guess in closing today, we could kind of talk about the Mercury retrograde that's coming up. Everybody's
Mm,
favorite cycle of time. It'll be the first retrograde of 2023. And that it will begin, actually, Mercury moves into the shadow of his retrograde cycle on the 7th, which is just this Friday, your Saturday, right? Would that be your Saturday, or Anyway, the 7th. Whenever you have your 7th, that's the day.
It is
And
actually our 7th is Friday.
well,
Is
our
it not?
7th is Friday.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Yeah.
just that your Friday is our Saturday. By the time you get to the 7th, we're on the 8th.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So that makes sense now. So everybody, Mercury goes into the shadow of his next retrograde on Friday. The actual retrograde does not begin until April 21st and runs through May 15th. So Mercury's in retrograde during the lunar eclipse and almost to retrograde at the time of the solar eclipse. So there could be elements of like repeating cycles that are coming up for us, repeating things or slowing things down somewhat, causing us to reevaluate what we're doing, or to, to slow the processes down of change. So while some people may have change that falls on them all at once, others may have these little plateauing type of changes that are happening. So it'll be interesting to see how everybody does through this next month or so of these kinds of changes. And then
Mm.
he is, for those who want to know the degrees, he's going to be retrograde in Taurus from the 15th degree of Taurus back to the 5th degree of Taurus. So that 10-degree span. So wherever that is in your natal chart, that's the area of your life where you'll need to watch for things to slow down. So, or being careful, like you're going to be traveling during that period of time, right?
Yes.
So it's not that I want you to be afraid of traveling or be afraid of things that happen when we're traveling, but you might just want to be more conscious, right? Don't leave things where other people can get them. Don't forget to put, your passport in your purse if you're getting on a
Mm.
plane. Those, things that we can easily, or that can slip our mind when we have a Mercury retrograde. And those are exactly the things we don't want to have happening to us. So just check and recheck and just be a little more cautious, slow down, to try not to be in a big hurry to get
Mm.
anywhere, right? Just be more mindful, um, be more sensitive to people, other people, and things that are going on around you. And we'll get through this retrograde just fine. But, since the beginning of the year, we really haven't had any planets in retrograde. So this will be the first sort of caution sign, slow down sign that we get for 2023. And then from here, other planets, Pluto, then Saturn, then Jupiter, then Uranus, then Neptune, all change direction. So it's the
We're,
typical year.
we're in for interesting times, are we not, Janet?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the way it is, right? It's the way it
that's
goes.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. Now,
So
Nolene has thanked us for an interesting session. I'd like to thank Nolene and everyone else who has decided to join us today, because we appreciate the support that we
that we do.
receive.
That we do.
Mm.
Now you're broadcasting live to Angel Heart Radio's Facebook page. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can come here and listen to other episodes that we've done, but also other episodes of people that you've talked to in the past, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
other shows like Anea has shows, doesn't she? She talks to people and
Yes. Yes. She's slowly getting back into her own shows with Carol Ann.
yeah,
It is well worth reminding people, Janet, that they can watch our shows, as we've mentioned yours, and then also other Angel Heart Radio shows via Angel Heart Radio Facebook page anytime you like. I constantly get people saying, oh, I forgot to tune in, or I think of it and not at 10 o'clock on a Thursday. I said, well, you can do it anytime you like. You might not be sleeping in the middle of the night. You can
yeah,
send
right.
yourself to sleep. But no, we're very fortunate in that we don't have to be watching live or
That's right.
listening live.
Yep. Any of your European followers right now, it's got to be what, early in the morning there, like 1 or 2 in the
Yes.
morning. So unless they're night hawks, they're not up watching our show, but they can tune in because we have it recorded. That's the beauty of technology. The real
That's
beauty of
right.
technology, right? That we can connect anytime.
You've just given me the opportunity to remember gorgeous Simon. Simon lived in the UK. He passed a few years ago, but he was there every time for my shows, and quite often it was 1 o'clock in the morning.
I remember way back, because you and I have been doing broadcasts like this for what, 10 years?
Well, we're coming up to 13 years of Angel Heart Radio. So we've been doing it for a good 12, have we not?
Yeah, because I started broadcasting in 2013 on
Okay.
Valentine's Day of 2013. So this is my 10th year of broadcasting. And so sometime right after I started broadcasting, I met up with you
Oh,
guys.
okay. So all right. I had you.
In fact, it was that same year. I'm pretty sure it was 2013. So we've been doing this together for a long time.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah.
seems only like a couple of years, really, doesn't it? It's
It's hard to
phenomenal.
believe how fast time goes by, right? How so much
Well,
happens in any given time
yes.
period.
And we see
I mean,
when we have fun, it's
right? It goes fast. I mean, it's
mhm.
April already.
I know.
It seems like just yesterday we were starting the new year and we were, on hiatus, you and I were, or
Yes,
for this show, but I was doing so much with the astrology of 2023 and, getting everybody up to speed about what to expect this year. And now we're a third of the way through the year.
I know.
Whew.
Yes. The speed of Tom said, show us your earrings. A girlfriend made them and passed them on to me because she's no longer teaching.
Okay, you're gonna
They're
have to
little
lift your ear
rabbits.
up a little bit. They look like rabbit ears with little
Yeah,
bows
they
on them and
are.
little
They're little
frou-frous.
rabbits for Easter.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. That's cute.
So,
Yeah, that's right. This is Easter week. All of the Easter stuff coming up.
yeah. So whatever Easter means to you, everybody, I hope that you have a safe and happy time. I know for a lot, it's a time of reflection and rebirth, and that's
Mm.
something. Let's face it, Janet. It's good for us all, isn't it, to reflect and just check on where
Regenerate.
we're heading.
Yeah, it's a great time of year for that, right? Be in the midst of all of the crazy things that have been going on, we're all in a process of evolving and growing, and that's the important
Mm,
thing. And bottom line of all of that is just to love one another and love yourself and be the best you that you can be.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that love is so important, and especially to start with ourselves. Embrace yourself as you are.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess
Mhm.
we will see everybody again in
You'll see.
June.
There's a
I'll
good
see them
chance
in
you'll
June.
see them in June. I'll be winging my way home
Right.
on the 1st of June. So I
Right.
will I will see people after that. However, I've got shows still to do for this month. I think I get them all in, which is really lovely. And
Ah,
then I take off. So Janet,
well,
you
have
have a
a great trip.
lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you have a lovely time. And Nolene, well done. Nurture yourself, then others. Very, very important. So,
Very much so. And that is not being selfish. That is being smart.
mm, exactly.
You have
Yes.
more to give when you are already full.
And Bridget
Yeah,
is saying she loves Easter too. It's a lovely, lovely time. I must
it
admit,
is.
for me, a chocoholic, it's delightful.
Those darn Cadbury mini eggs. Oh my God, they can ruin me
I
'cause
know.
I
Yes,
love them.
the solid little ones. Is
Yeah.
that what you mean?
Yes, with the hard little candy shell. And I
Yeah,
just love sucking on them and getting that cracking the. Oh, well,
wonderful.
they're fun.
All right.
All right,
Thank
Annette.
you, Janet. Thank
Take
you,
care. Thank
everybody
you.
else. Much
All right.
love.
Bye.
I'll catch you next week, and I'll catch Janet in a couple of months.
All
Thank
right.
you for joining us all. Bye for now.
Bye for now.